Hey guys, very warm welcome to the contributors and maintainers meet, which happens on every second and fourth Thursday of the month. So today is the last community contributors meet for November. We are going to have one again next month, but thanks everyone for joining in. I see a couple of new faces. So Prashant and Tiha, if you would like to introduce yourselves before we get started, that'd be great.
Yeah. Let me start first.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tiha. I currently live in Singapore. I work at the center telecommunication company. I am the senior SRE developer. So currently, I'm using the Litmus to detect the Singapore failure for the all the our port. And also, yeah, that's all for me. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. It's great to have you here. Prashant, where do you want to go next?
Hello everyone. My name is Prashant, and I'm currently in my third year of BTech Computer Science, and I'm from VIT Bhopal University. And like I'm app developer, but I'm currently learning Litmus, and yeah, so I'm passionate about building effective, efficient, and user-friendly applications. And yeah,
Awesome. That's great, Prashant. It's good to have you. It's good to have you both, and the more
thank you.
contributors and the more people taking interest, the better. So we love all these new faces coming up and joining the calls as well. Awesome. I think with that I can just share the agenda for today's call. You guys might have already seen it on Slack, but just to give an overview of what we're going to talk about. Is the updates on the tech docs analysis that's been going through, as you guys know, because we are doing this as a part of the CNCF graduation effort. So we'll be taking a look at some of the issues that has been already resolved, and also some of the contributions done by the community, and then we are going to discuss on the Litmus roadmap, which is like a combination of all the things we considered from our last quarter, from our last roadmap, and also from the amazing contributions the Korean community has been pushing forward. So it's like a combination of all those things, and it's like the next step for Litmus, preferably for the next 2 quarters, and then a few things might go down for another quarter, but yeah, preferably for the first 2 quarters. And then we're going to take a look at some of the changes in the Litmus governance and the membership, because we have realized and noticed that there's a lot of great contributions coming in, but there's like a bit of a tedious process from members or like contributors to be transferred or transitioned into members with triage roles and then into maintainers. So we want to make those things easy. And the final agenda item is on upgrading version of operator SDK and the Q client in the chaos operator that Namke will be speaking more on. So that is the whole agenda. Now, this is a document for those of you who are new. So I'll just add you guys as well on this for the first phases. This is a document we maintain where we update the agenda before the call every time. And if you have more items to add, you can use this document and everybody will have edit access. So feel free to update and change or add any more comments to the same. Cool. I think let's get started with the first item on the list, which is updates on tech docs analysis. So if I just come over to the umbrella issue of the tech docs analysis, so this is the issue that was created by David Welch. And we had 4 issues before. Now we have 2 more, which is move the contributor info out of the intro section. So before it was actually a part of the what is Litmus section in the documentation itself. And the recommendation was to take it out because it's more of an advanced instruction, like it's like a how to rather than, should not be placed in the what is Litmus section, rather more of a community thing which should be scoped out of what is Litmus. So that was one of the non-functional sort of a requirement that was added in, which I believe has already been worked on by Prashant and it's already merged. I think Prashant will be talking more on the same, but the other item was some of the table of content uh, writing, so the titles not being very consistent with the headings that were used as part of the documentation. So before I start talking about those two issues, I would just like to hand it over to Prashant, and he can sort of give an update on the move contributor info of the intro issue.
So, can I share my screen? So, like,
Yeah, sure.
for the,
Sure.
yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, okay, so, for the first point, like, I made, like, changes to improve the getting started experience, like, across the Litmus, Chaos website and documentation. So here's the quick review, and like in the Litmus website too, I like change two things. First, this like getting started to learn more as for the first and second point here, and for the other points, I do this. So I just a second. Okay. So here. So I in the docs, I remove this resource.md file here, and like move this content to in concepts in chaos center, and I did this for every version, so you can just check in every documentation part. And I've also like I have got warnings regarding this path getting started resource.md. So I just like for example from here, and so I edit all the files. Yeah, so yeah, okay. So I just um, edit all the paths for every like so yeah. And like for the getting started tutorial, I have some questions like can I
Yeah, sure. If you have any questions, you can
okay.
ask them.
The tutorial is currently in the HTML format. So should I code it directly into the documentation website so users can view it seamlessly without navigating to another website? Or and the second one, like if we are adding the tutorial to the table of contents, should it be placed under the getting started section, or would you prefer it on the other table of contents part?
So, to answer the question, I believe the tutorial section is like the GitHub repository that you're mentioning is actually, it was not really maintained. So we have archived that
Oh,
repository, which is also part of the scrub that we are doing. But I think
okay,
Suyam is also in the call. So Suyam raised a PR to add tutorials as a separate section in the docs itself. So right now, the
okay,
tutorials is like a subsection of the docs in the table of content itself. And she has started with the pod delete tutorial, but any other
okay,
tutorial that we'll be adding in the future would probably be going in the same like a sub content in the table of content itself. So
okay, okay,
anything else in the future, we'll be adding it to that. Yeah, it's still in the the PR is not merged yet, but it's in the Litmus docs pull
okay,
request.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay, okay.
Cool. Do you have any other questions?
No, sir. Like I've also like a question regarding this another issue, like same documentation issue. Just a second. Yeah, single source documentation, and I just want to know like the description says the project website repo and the recommendations is combined with the doc repo. So I'm just little bit confused. So can you please?
Yeah. So the gist of that one is we had a couple of other subdomains and a couple of different contexts, I would say. Like there's experiment docs and there's like the Litmus docs, and then we have V1 docs, which was the Litmus1.x Then we also have litmus2.x docs, which was separate, and then 3.x, which is nothing but the current docs of LitmusChaos. So it was addressing all the different subdomains and the different, the meta links basically, which were added to Litmus docs. And whenever you go Google it, Litmus docs, those links would also show up. So they were also part of, following a single source rather than having multiple one of them. And we have also updated things there, which is also part of the agenda, which I'll discuss. But yeah, there is more of a configuration change and sunsetting some of the older things that we had, which are no longer actively maintained or used. So it's like archived, but it's still there. But we are removing it from the public forum so that people don't get confused, and we treat Litmus docs as a single source.
Okay, so and for the getting started, I'm like soon submit the PR. So
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, you already worked on two of the issues, so yeah, great job.
Thank you.
One more thing I wanted to add. So I noticed, Prashant, that you were adding the changes in 3.3.0 version. I think that is kind of outdated because I saw the terminologies were chaos delegates and all.
Okay.
So,
Ma'am, I've added all the changes in every version. So is like this is not okay, or like I just need to change?
I think in the latest version we require. Rishabh, can you confirm once? Should we add it in all the versions or just the latest one?
Only in the latest one.
Oh, okay. Okay, I will change.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let me just show the okay, yeah. So one of the other things was the TOC, the table of content, not really adhering to the content headlines, which I think is a pretty easy change, but we need to be very specific about which title we would want, because I think some of the sections said chaos center, but it said like a chaos control plane in some of the other places. So this is like more of a decision we have to make as to which exact title, which are differing basically those. But one of the this is also sort of easy because there are certain things which are not really that complicated, like this resilience probes were just there's a typo in here, or like account settings was just, or user management was just capitalization, the M is capital and the M is small here, so things like that, which is pretty straightforward. But then there are certain things that might need we might need to take a look at, like configuring GitOps versus just saying GitOps. So which one would make it more clear to the users who are trying to contribute or get started? So this is a straightforward issue, but we need to take a call on what name we are going to use on both the TOC as well as the main content headers. So yeah, this is another issue that was added as part of the scrub. And I was just about to give my update on this first two, which I was talking about with Prashant as well. So removing the obsolete websites and single source documentation. If you check this issue, it named a few, like we use something called Spectacular to generate the Litmus GraphQL and the authentication docs. So the issue says that if you hit up LitmusChaos APIs on Google, you'd probably get something like this, which is the Chaos Manager or like the Litmus GraphQL docs, like API docs, which is correct. But I think this is getting, like, people are getting confused on this API versus the authentication API, and also they're redirecting from the Litmus experiment docs. So I think that is the main source of confusion, because we are maintaining two sources of truth, which is something we do since one is maintained in MK docs and the other in Docusaurus. So that might be one of the confusing areas for people that might be hitting it up from Google. But I think that is also necessary because they do provide some different capabilities in their own form. So we are kind of sunsetting the others, which I mentioned, like V1 dogs, V2 dogs, V3 dogs, which are sort of redundant. So they've already been sunsetted, and we just have docs for LitmusChaos.io as of now. We also archived a couple of repositories along with this one, which was the Litmus GitHub tutorials. So right now, this site is no longer, like the GitHub repository is no longer there. We have archived it. It's read only. You can still go and check it out. But if I come back over to the single source documentation, which is all these repositories which I mentioned as not being maintained or redundant. So we have archived this tutorials repository. So this repository has been archived. We have also archived the old LitmusChaos website repository. So all of these have been actively sunsetted, and we are soon going to write a comment on as a follow-up, as a reply to this, and we're going to close both the issues from the tech docs analysis. So that was two things that I wanted to share as part of this agenda item. Cool. Moving on to the second one, it was another contribution by Suyan on updating updating the recent videos that were part of Litmus, because I think we haven't done that for a while, and this was a good first issue. So it's like a small addition, but a great addition, because we have been advocating and doing a lot of things around Litmus, but we did not really, we did not really actively update this in the README itself. So this one has a lot of recent talks of Litmus on KubeCon, and the podcast that Karthik did with Google, and some of really good content that we have been pushing out from Litmus side, but we weren't really able to update this much. So yeah, thanks Suyan for this amazing contribution. Cool. Now let me just move over to the main discussion on the roadmap and the governance. So I just switch over to the roadmap. So this is the roadmap file that we have been working on and trying to update. We want to take wider consensus on what the community and what the maintainers think on it, and I wanted to have like a discussion around it to see where we stand and if everybody agrees with this or not. So these are some of the completed items in the roadmap which were previously also there, and I think since Karthik is also here, he can help me and chime in on his thoughts as well. But yeah, this in progress is some of the roadmap items that we have sort of thought through from a Litmus point of view. And I wanted feedback from the maintainers, and this is also something which has been in collaboration with the open source Korea team. So to start off with, we wanted to introduce like native chaos workflows, which is nothing but redesigning the current Litmus subscriber that we have. So this is done to sort of improve the resource delegation that we do, and also to make things more seamless and make the execution faster and more efficient. Like this is another, the second point is also something that is complementing the first, is to introduce the transient runners. So which would be spun, like which will spin up, run chaos very quickly, and then just destroy itself. So we'll have a couple of like transient runners that improves the resource efficiency of the chaos experiment. They just create, do the chaos and clean up the resources, and just finish up the instances. So these two are sort of like concepts that go hand in hand. And then finally, and the third point, we wanted to work on something which is sort of like a Kubernetes connector that sort of is like an integration with the Kubernetes clusters, with what we used to call as agents. So it's like a one level top, one level up of that. So it's like a connector that can connect with a Kubernetes cluster, and it can provide a more seamless introduction to your authentication and the config management, rather than going and applying a bunch of extra configurations on top, and then like taking like basically changing the UX of the flow that we are used to as part of the typical Litmus flow. So Karthik, would you want to just pitch in on the top 3 points and just add anything if I missed out?
I think you've covered everything, Sain. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. I think next we can just move on to integration of sort of a AI tool, which is like let's think of it in the point of a recommender, like a chaos recommender, which is in AI. So I just don't want to throw the term in AI very loosely, but this is something which can be done with tools like GPT, and it's not specifying a tool, but it's more of a generic solution which would act like an AI chaos recommender, which can generate insightful reports, not just help you with recommending the chaos experiments or faults, but also generate insightful reports and identify your potential weaknesses in your Kubernetes environments before you even execute chaos. So KHGPT is one such tool which is in CNCF sandbox, and it has those capabilities around it. I don't think it has out-of-the-box chaos execution or chaos detection parameters or training in the model itself. But yeah, this is one of the potential tools that could be used, and this is also something that has been talked about in KubeCon North America as well, an integration with Litmus and KHGPT. So this is definitely somewhere we can think of and take things forward. That was one of the other points that were fresh and pretty new. Then I think we had discussed this previously as well, but now this has been formally added as part of the roadmap, which is adding the Terraform support for defining and executing chaos experiments on infrastructure. So it's like chaos on your infra components, but you can do or configure the whole thing via Terraform. So it's basically enabling infrastructure as code based on chaos engineering. Then we move on to adding SDK supports and more SDK support for multiple other languages that the community is interested in, like Python and Java. I think Java SDK is already something we have been working on. And kind of the other roadmap items is also something that is being currently worked on actively. So we want to potentially add more extensions on the programming languages based on interest from the community, so that people are not really stuck with Golang or Python, some of the languages that we want to typically offer. But yeah, that is the idea, to sort of make the SDK more extensible so that it can be used by the other members also. Next, we have the in-product documentation, which is currently missing in Litmus. We do not actively do it. So for example, if you move on to the tune fault section or the probe section, you would not get like a tooltip or some sort of a documentation wrapper around the properties. And to often view those, you have to go to the Litmus docs or the experiment docs and check out what these exact tunables mean. So this is one of the roadmap items aligned in the way to make things clearer and more easier for the users to sort of understand what the tunables and the parameters mean when they're configuring. Next is the Litmus Java SDK, which was targeted to like a release of version 1.0.0, and we are sort of also targeting it to be like the release to be done by the upcoming Q1. So I think NAMQ has more updates on the same. But yeah, this is one of the roadmap items that we have added. Second is next is the integration of the distributed tracing. I think we have already done some parts of it, and then there was a couple of extra items that we wanted to add, like adding events, attributes, and events to the spans, and also creating an open telemetry demo. So I think some of the PRs for this is already raised, and this is also actively being worked on. So I think the next ones are also something that NAMQ and his team is working on. So NAMQ, you can just pitch in and add anything else if I miss out.
No, you already covered. It's all good.
Yeah. Okay. Then we have the exporter. Like we wanted to enhance the exporter to a function as a NoTel collector, and provide the compatibility with the existing observability pipelines. Then we also have the document DB replacement, that we wanted to replace certain MongoDB operations with document DB, and I think the proposal for that is already there and it's already reviewed by Saranya and Sarthak, and I think they've already left some comments on there. So this is also something actively being worked on. Then we have upgrade of the Kubernetes SDK from version 1.21 to 1.26 to be aligned with the latest Kubernetes releases, the features and enhancement that it offers. And then we wanted to refactor some of the chaos charts. We sort of did this effort once as part of LFX, but we would want to continue doing that and replace the latest tags with specific version image, and also consolidate multiple images that are lying around today into a single optimized image that will sort of reduce a lot of the bandwidth and help make it more efficient and optimized. Lastly, we have the update the GraphQL and the authentication API logs to improve more clarity and guidance and user guidance. Because I think currently the documentation is there, but I think it could be improved to make it more API specific and what are the response and the requests and things like that. And also, we are continuing on with the unit and first test that we have as part of the documentation, as part of the roadmap from early on. So we'd want more unit and first test that helps us make things more clearer and more, battle tested and better in terms of security. And lastly, there's the out-of-the-box Slack integration, which can help with better collaborating and also monitoring, sort of an alert mechanism that could be added as an action as part of your chaos experiment. So these are all, some of them are all good first issues, and a couple of them would require more time and effort to sort of bring or drill things down better. Like the first 3 or 4 things might need more brainstorming and might need a more planned roadmap action item. So we'll continue working through this and make this more refined and share the same in the upcoming calls as well. But yeah, that is just some of the items that we have updated as part of the roadmap. And the floor is open. And also, if you want to add anything else, or if you want to discuss anything on this roadmap item, we are happy to take a look at it and include that. Cool. I think that was it for the roadmap. I just can move on to the governance, which is the next item. So this is the Litmus governance update. I haven't really posted on or raised the PR yet because I wanted more feedback on this before we sort of update this, because we currently follow one. But from my experience and from the feedback from the community, I realized that there were a few gaps in updating contributors to members as being part of the org, and also members to like approvers and like owners and approvers to maintainers. So this is some of the changes that we are proposing as part of the change. So number 1 would be how we are managing the conflict resolution and voting that would be done as part of this process. So there's always like a threshold, which is the vote passes or is rejected with a simple majority. It's always the majority, and the quorum would be at least 30% of the maintainers that must participate in the voting. So voting would be done in the typical CNCF format. You can cast your vote by adding a +1 or a -1, and then whoever is raising the concern, they can add more details in the issue itself. But this is done on the issue with a +1 or a -1. Now there are binding votes, and each maintainer has 1 binding vote, and non-binding votes could be done or rather encouraged by the community. And there is an organizational limit as well to this. So no single organization can cast more than 40% of the eligible votes. But if there are organizations with more than 40% of the maintainers, where like this majority of the maintainers are in the same org, then they must designate voting members from that organization so that there's a balance. And for any sort of conflict resolution, the voting period remains open for 1 week, and towards the end of the week, we take a decision based on the voting. So that is one thing which was missing, and we have added that as part of the change. The second one is the changes to the governance. So the quorum and the voting method stays the same. The only difference between this would be the voting remains open for 2 weeks, and the threshold is basically a 2/3 majority. So it requires a 2/3 majority for the governance change process, or which basically the restructuring of updating a new maintainer or updating a new approver to go through. So at least, again, 30% of the maintainer must be participating in this voting. And it's the same for decision-making process. So this is also +1 and -1. So these are just some formal, some transparency that we want to keep so that we can add this as part of the governance. So let's move on to the membership. So these are the 3 memberships we have. We have members, we have reviewers, and the maintainers. So members are nothing but active contributor in the community. So if you are actively participating, contributing, and helping out, then you are eligible to be a member. So to be a member, you have to be sponsored by 2 reviewers or maintainers. So maintainers would be the highest up in the chain, then the reviewers, and then the members. If you do get sponsored by 2 of the reviewers, and this ticket you can find in the maintainers.md file in the repository too. If you do get sponsored by 2 reviewers or maintainers, then you are nominated, and there's a issue issue file that you can use to create the issue, and that is where the maintainers or like the plus or the minus voting will happen. And then this reviewers must be be contributing to the community, and there should be continuously doing that as a member for a few periods of, like, let's say 1 month or a couple of more months. And then they have to also be sponsored by maintainer, and they have to demonstrate the history of reviews and the contributions in the specific sub-projects. So as a reviewer, you do not need to have a thorough understanding of everything, but if you just focus on one project, that is also fine. You can be added as a reviewer of that specific sub-project. And this also is available in the maintainers.md file. And finally, is the maintainer, where you have to demonstrate a history of reviews and contributions in either a specific project, and also have knowledge of the whole project, and specifically the main project. And this can only be done by sponsorship of another maintainer. Either one or two should be fine. So the role of a maintainer would not just be contribution, but also to define the technical direction of the project and oversee the sub-projects that the other maintainers are doing. So this is the whole requirement and responsibility that we have come up with. So this is like a lot of documentation, which we can again post it. But yeah, members are just given the triage GitHub role, so you would have access to add labels and just triage issues basically. And there are certain requirements like two-factor authentication, have DCO enabled, you should have multiple contributions, code documentation, etc. And you have to be sponsored by 2 existing reviewers. And that's all. So you'll have more details on the responsibilities here, and more details on the nomination process as well. So you have to be sponsored, and you have to mention whoever sponsored you. You have to complete all the items on the checklist in the form of a template, which we'll be sharing soon, and things like that. And then we'll be doing the voting based on the process mentioned above. Second is a reviewer. You have to be a member for at least 3 months, and you have to be participating in discussions and issue reviews for 1 month. And if you have like authored 5 PRs itself, then and you're sponsored by one of the leads or one of the maintainers, then you can be a reviewer. And lastly, the maintainers is you have to have sustained contribution to the project over time. So it could be community leadership, it could be code, it could be design. So the maintainer does not necessarily need to have all aspects or like all technical requirements, but you have to be very active in the community, help out, and just take expertise, or just pave the way, or like move the direction of the project in a way that's sounds good, and you're also contributing with the other maintainers. So that is one of the main things that is a part of the judgment process when we talk about adding a new maintainer. And this also has to be nominated and approved by an existing maintainer. So these are certain responsibilities to mentor and to guide other members, to participate in the governance decisions that we are doing right now, and to also ensure more transparency, and also to add or take part in the agenda updates that we are doing, things like that. So that is all we have as part of this document. We'll be soon adding and publishing more for this, and we will add a few ways and areas where how we can update the emeritus maintainers, those who are not really active members, those who are not really inactive as a maintainer. So those things we'll be also updating as part of the governance file. But this is what I wanted to share. So is there any question or anything that the maintainers have a feedback on? Okay, cool. All right. So I think with that, I think I can give it to Namkyu, and he can discuss more on the last agenda item.
Sure. Let me share my screen. Okay. Hi everyone. For the implementing distributed tracing, we need a newer version of operator SDK and kube client in the chaos operator. But as you can see in this PR, this one is suspended for 1 year maybe. Is there any reason why this PR is suspended? Because yes. If no, I think Nagish is not actively participating now. So can I take this issue and implementing a newer version of operator SDK and kube client version to 1.26? So yeah. And is there any reason or any feedbacks? Maybe Saranya can answer this question.
take a look at the PR. Just a minute.
Okay. Okay, so and is there anyone who upgrading the version of Kube client to 1.21 to 1.26? Is there any current work on? Okay, so
I don't think so, but yeah, I think you can take it if you're willing to do that.
okay, thanks.
Cool. I think yeah, that was all from our end for the maintenance meet today. I don't think there's any other agenda item, but yeah, thanks everyone for participating and contributing. As a next step, I think right up next we have KubeCon India, so we are geared up for that, and we have a couple of sessions there already, and we are already planning to submit a couple of sessions for KubeCon Europe. So yeah, we are looking forward to meeting a couple of you guys who are from India, and also have a quick chat on Litmus and what your plans are, and how you're using it, and what you'd want to improve and things like that, so we can take things forward and also modify and shape the roadmap and take a lot of feedback and suggestions from everybody. So yeah, really looking forward to KubeCon, and also great. Thanks everybody for joining, and thank you for contributing. See you again next one. Thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you.